Picture with me Pete, who is the gatekeeper at a big corporation. He's literally at the head of it. He is access to quite a small unit that has control over the whole body, the whole corporation. Take a look at this. Looks familiar? Well, that would be your control unit. Before you rush to it around the house and switch it off and get your parents all goofed up, or your family member tell you something about this. That control unit is present in each and every single one of us. What, you may ask me, and how? I will tell you that it's shaped structures. And no, I'm not talking about the pineal gland, and I'm not talking about the structure that looks of Egypt, as some people might have thought, that is present in every single one of you. But I'm referring to the pituitary gland, and that's why we called it Pete. And that's why he was named Pete. But body, there's two different mechanisms. There's endocrine and exocrine. You should check out this video for the difference between them.
Maybe not that one.
However,
imagine if you had two switches.
This master gland pretty much controls an endocrine function. It sends the signal from up top to the rest of the body and different organs, different structures. How may you remember them, you may ask me? Well, always we take a bite at these things, but let's take a jab. If you pull your knuckles right out like this, how many fingers do you see? You see 4 and 4, that's about 8. If you start labeling them, G-O-A-T-F-L-A-P, that spells out goat flap. Now this may be one of the greatest of all times mnemonics, definitely not my own invention, but take a look at this for a moment. If we take your right hand, presuming you're right hand dominant, you could be a lefty, so you could do it on the left and flip the words, but for the sake of English, we're gonna go goat flap. Go Spider-Man for a second there. The two that you pull back, posterior to the that go up front. And that's exactly where you would arrange the hormones or the neurohormones for the anterior and the posterior. Now, if you take a look at the anatomy right here for a second, pituitary is found at the center of the brain, and it has an anterior portion and a posterior portion. The posterior portion would be the one that went back. Now spell it with me again, please. G-O-A-T. So the O and the A goes to the back, and the O and the A, the hormones. The anterior part is formed into a distalis. They call it a distalis or pars distalis because it's further, and the back pars nervosa because it's actually still connected to a neural. It doesn't change to a hormonal segment. What happens here is the first main two hormones that are being secreted by there would be somatotrophs and mammotrophs. Somato because it's part of the body, and that's the first G, and that would be the growth hormone. And then mammotroph, which is what? Think of mammal from mammals, from prolactin, from milk, and that's what differentiates mammals from non-mammals, amphibians, reptiles, whatever they may be. But that would be the last P, so G and P. That P, prolactin, the anterior portion has been divided into acidophils, so these first two that I mentioned to you is because in histology, check out this histology video for a moment, you can identify them by being acidic liking or basic liking. These are acidophils. What about the other ones? Now we're gonna skip the middle, the Spider-Man portion that goes to the back for a sec, but we're gonna go to goat, another T, that would be TSH, thyroid hormone, so thyrotroph, and then flap, F and L, that'd be follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing stimulating hormones. Both are androgens, which means related to the gonads. What are we left with? Done. A. There's another A.
Going on to the other A, that would be AdrenoCorticotropin hormone, and that controls, yes, you guessed it right, corticotrophs or cortisol, which is responsible for your stress response mechanism. So you need some sort of a response to stress.
Now, what about the Spider-Man portion? The O and the A that went back, remember that. That would be oxytocin, known as the cuddling hormone, as all the celebrities of Hollywood would call it, but it's also important bonding, and it's key in providing positive feedback. More on that later on in physiology, in the physiology series, so check that out, stay tuned. Child labor, milk formation, and then the other A is antidiuretic or vasopressin. Diuretic or antidiuretic, you might have heard that, like coffee, and that works on the kidneys too in order to allow for the reabsorption of water, to maintain it within the body, because the whole essence of excretion through the kidneys is to filter out the waste and actually keep the water. A lot of people might think, and a lot of times I have thought, that when you're thinking about filtration, you want to get rid of the water from the body, but no, you want to keep as much water as possible and make your urine as concentrated as possible. Should be about light to medium yellowish color. Enough talking on with the science. So to sum it up, there's goat flap, and the OA goes back because that's the posterior, and these are neurohormones because they're controlled by the nervous system. And if you look at the anatomy here, there's the pars, there's the anterior side, which is what? Pars distalis, and then there's the infundibulum on top of the pars nervosa, where the OA goes, and then the anterior hormones would be goat, flap.
Growth hormone.
And prolactin would be acetylthyroid hormone, TSH, follicle stimulating FSH, LSH, and ACTH are all basophils. I hope this helped you. Stay tuned for more take a bite moments. Till then, stay awesome.